In the original Dragon Ball series, in manga chapter 17, Goku fights Boss Rabbit, or Monster Carrot, depending on the name that you're used to. While he was a very minor antagonist in Dragon Ball terms, he was still an anthropomorphic mob boss who could turn anyone into a carrot simply by touching them. In my last video, we discussed the science of Saiyans in space, where I mentioned our topic today. And if you haven't seen that video yet, there's going to be a link above and below so you can watch that first. Otherwise, you saw the title, the thumbnail, now let's jump right into the video. Eventually, Goku would defeat Boss Rabbit, and he wanted to make sure that him and his goons would no longer cause any more trouble. So he takes out his power pole and yells out,
"Power pole extend!" So what did you do with the rabbit gang? I took them to the moon.
Despite the scene being an obvious gag, as well as a reference to the Japanese fairy tale called The Rabbit on the Moon, where rabbits make mochi cakes on the moon. During this time, Toriyama was still transitioning from his other hit series, Dr. Slump, and had still been incorporating a lot of wikism into his writing and storytelling. He preferred writing more humorous scenarios catering to his Japanese audience, based around traditional tales. So even though creating a scene with characters breathing in space doesn't make any sense, it's funny and it tells a better story in this instant. Regardless of it being a complete gag, it also counts as a plot hole. Even if we put Boss Rabbit aside and exclude him, neither humans or Saiyans are able to breathe in space. Yet I also promised that there would be a scientific side to this apparent gag of a plot hole. So let's jump into the science and talk about what actually happens when you're exposed to space.
Today, nothing will be around you, even air. Welcome to free space. Did you grab a spacesuit? It was in vain. To the disappointment of the audience, you will not explode because of the difference in pressure. The skin can retain internal organs and protect your blood from boiling. Are you surprised that you are not covered in a crust of ice? The fact is that the vacuum of space has no thermal conductivity and convection, so to get to even absolute zero will take a very, very long time. There's no oxygen, so nothing protects you from the ultraviolet rays and radiation. Soon burns will appear on unprotected skin areas, but this is not the worst thing. Your main enemy is the lack of oxygen. The brain will turn off after 10 to 15 seconds. Arnold? Probably happened already. You fainted. You have about 30 seconds to 2 minutes. If during this time the body is again given access to oxygen and restored to pressure, then you can fully live the rest of your life. Although your full life is unlikely to be experienced. That's because, of course, you have not thought of holding your breath. In this case, the air in your lungs will simply rupture. Ah, that's what that sound was.
Relating this back to Dragon Ball, and when Goku traveled to the moon and back, dropping off Boss Rabbit, the only way he would have technically survived this trip was if his power pole was extending exceedingly quickly, and I mean extremely fast. Based on this idea, I was actually able to quantify how fast the power pole had to expand before Goku would have either blacked out or suffocated from being in outer space. So now we know that the moon is about 350,000 kilometers away from the Earth. And from my previous space video, we also know that Earth's atmosphere lasts for about 100,000 kilometers, meaning that there's still oxygen for Goku to breathe during those first 100,000 kilometers. So Goku would have needed to travel 5,000 kilometers total, or 250,000 each way, as that's about the average distance between the end of our atmosphere and the beginning of the moon. And he had to have done this between 10 to 15 seconds. In order for this to happen though, after some quick and simple math, the power pole would be expanding at a rate between 33,000 and 50,000 kilometers per second. But alright, enough math calculations in science for one day, because chances are the power pole wasn't growing that fast, and ultimately it's much easier to just see the scene as a complete gag reference to the Japanese fairy tale, and unfortunately, a plot.
Make sure to subscribe and be sure to turn on post notifications. Alright, it's time for me to get back to training.